Can't remember on the last film whether I touched on weeding. So anyway, the plan is at the moment just weeding this plot, this particular bed here. Now I've done this one yesterday, and I missed a bit. How did I miss that? Never mind. Yes, I mean it was fairly clear anyway, and the mulch helped no end. Now then, so I want to give you my thoughts on weeding. There's several methods, of course, like anything else. You can either not weed and just carry on mulching, but there are some weeds like dandelions which will just push through no matter what you do. So you either have to dig them up or spray them with a weed killer, and I would suggest a glyphosate for that, because that gets down to the roots and it doesn't. As long as you spot weed it shouldn't damage the soil. You know, it shouldn't. I mean, you can still plant in after it. Now then, so before I decided to go over to this no-dig system, my weeding method was I would start one end. Now we've got a nice paved path there on that edge, so it's a nice place to start. And what I would do, I think I've already touched on this, but I'll remind you anyway. I'd have two lines, and I put one line in, so there's a strip of about 1 foot 18 inches, not about as wide as this path maybe, and then the second line would be the next strip. So what I would do then, I would thoroughly weed that one strip on one day. I wouldn't do any more, just on that one day. Now, obviously, depending on how much weed you've got, will depend on how long it takes you, but if it's very little weed, then it won't take you any time at all, will it? But don't be tempted to start the next row, even if it's a small amount of weed. Stick to the plan of 1 row per day, and I'll explain why shortly. And then following day I'd come down to the next strip, then I'd pull the first line up, leapfrog it over, and methodically work my way down the plot. And you may think, oh God, that'll take forever. Well, it sort of does, but what you find is, you know, once one little strip like that won't take you long to weed, and then you can fit that in with other jobs that you're doing on the plot, and then very shortly you realise you've come to the end, and it's great because it's all nice and clear. Now then, but this is before I did the mulch, of course, what I would find then, more weeds would come, but not so many. So I do it a second time. Now the second time would take me less time again to do, because obviously there's less weed to pull. And then it would happen a third time when the weeds would come again, because obviously every time you weed you're disturbing the soil, etc. And the third time I'd have even less weed, and I'd, you know, go through the whole lot. Probably I'd do the whole patch in one go then, because as I say, there's not very much in the way of weed. And then I found that was enough. Then I'd have nothing coming back then for the rest of the year, because obviously all the weed seeds have been activated and germinated, and I got them out, and it worked very well. Now anyway, so now I'm doing this no-dig system with the mulch, and I'm doing a similar idea, but I'm doing a bed rather than a narrow patch, and it's only because there's very little weed. So as I say, I've done this plot here, that bed here, that took me about 20 minutes, something like that. Now I've done this one, I've gone up this side, come back down, and I'm now round about here to finish off. Somewhere around there. In there are broad bean seeds that have dropped down and have reseeded themselves and stand to grow. Now all I'm going to do with those, I'll just pull them and just dump them on the ground, let the goodness go back in. So as I say, I'm just going to finish off this little stretch here, half of it, because obviously I do half that side and come back down this way, and obviously do the paths in between. Now then, going back to what I said earlier, the reason why I only did one strip and not 2 strips in one go, even though I could see the weed right next to me, was because what'll happen, like here for instance, now I'm doing this bed, okay, not this bed, and as far as this path is concerned, theoretically I'm going to do to the midway point, but yes, I'll make an exception and take that one out and that one out, but I won't take that one or that one, even though I'm right next to it, because that is in that bed. And I know it sounds weird and strange, but it's something psychological. Once you've done the one bed, it's compartmentalizing everything. That's my mind. That's how my mind works anyway. If you know, at the end of the day, you do what you want. But that's the way I find coping with it, because what'll happen, you say, oh, I'll just pull that one. Oh no, I'll just pull this one. No, well, and then it just pulls you across, and then eventually what happens is you're going across, and then you've already started on that bed. So resist that temptation, just stick with that, do that one day, then move on to this the next day and do the same. Right, so I'm going to sign off now and just finish off this patch, and then the next patch. Anyway, bye for now.